It's a bird. It's a plane. And both fly based on the same principles of physics. Hi there, and welcome to Gimme 2. My name is Mark, and in this video, we will discuss the fascinating topic of flight in just 2 minutes. As with my other videos, if you want to go straight to the 2 minutes, which discusses the mechanics of modern flight, that is timestamped in the 2 minutes. But if you stick around for a couple of minutes before that, I talk about some of flight's history and additional context that might be worth sticking around for. Also, this video will focus on airplane flight, and I won't be focusing on rocket science, which, while sharing many characteristics with airplane flight, relies much more heavily on upward thrust. I chose to keep that as a separate topic, as it has its own unique considerations and challenges. Let's start by defining flight, and it can mean a couple of things. But for the purposes of this video, it will mean the ability to achieve sustained and controlled motion through the air, using active propulsion and maneuvering to maintain course and altitude. This is in contrast to gliding, which involves controlled descent, primarily through the use of wind resistance, and soaring, which involves using naturally occurring air currents, such as thermals or updrafts, to maintain altitude and move through the sky, neither of which use active propulsion. Flight is exhibited by a number of animals, including insects, bats, and birds, while gliding is utilized by many more, such as certain squirrels, colugos, lizards, snakes, and even fish and squid. The depiction of flight dates back to ancient civilizations, including the winged sun in ancient Egypt and the Middle East, the Vimanas in ancient Indian epics, Faitian in ancient Chinese mythology, various winged gods and creatures throughout Greek and Roman mythology, and angels and demons throughout the biblical narrative. More practically, humans have been working to emulate flight for hundreds of years. The principal challenge we have to overcome is gravity, which inexorably pulls objects toward the Earth. However, harnessing the buoyant force, which in simple terms allows objects to rise when they are less dense than the medium they're in, we realize that there are ways to counteract gravity's pull. In the earliest stages of flight, we tried to do this by making objects less dense than their surrounding air. In 1783, the Montgolfier brothers used this concept to successfully fly a hot air balloon. They did this by heating and therefore decreasing the density of the air inside the balloon. Over the next century, further advancements with this kind of flight were introduced, with blimps and zeppelins, which were filled with gas that is lighter than the atmosphere. Note to Zeppelin engineers, don't use hydrogen. At about the same time as these advancements, major progress was made in the field of aeronautics. The works of individuals such as Sir George Cayley or Otto Lilienthal have provided significantly deeper understandings of 3 key forces: drag, thrust, and lift, that would ultimately allow us to much more effectively take toward the skies. Working with these forces has allowed us to switch from lighter-than-air flight, such as balloons or zeppelins, to the once-thought impossible heavier-than-air flight, which dominates our skies today. This was finally accomplished on December 17, 1903, when Orville and Wilbur Wright flew their Wright Flyer for about 12 seconds, covering 120 feet, at Kill Devil Hills near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Or, if you ask certain Brazilians, you might hear a different story of Alberto Santos Dumont's first flight. How did they do it? Let's discuss in the 2 minutes. Before we do, however, if you find this video enjoyable, entertaining, or just plain informative, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of those good things that allows videos like these to reach broader audiences. It also really helps the channel. But for now, let's get back to flying. So let's start those 2 minutes now. In order to make heavier-than-air objects fly, we deal with 4 forces. We counteract drag by incorporating thrust, which creates lift and overcomes weight. Let's use airplane flight as an example. Drag is a resisting force that opposes an object's motion through a fluid, like air. Imagine sticking your hand out of a moving car's window. That wind-like force pushing your hand back is drag. In aviation, this hinders the forward motion of an airplane, preventing it from hitting speeds necessary for flight. Thrust is the forward-moving force that overcomes drag. Airplane pilots control thrust with jet engines or propellers, drawing in air and expelling it backward to push the plane forward. During takeoff and acceleration, thrust needs to exceed drag. During mid-flight, they should be equal, allowing the plane to maintain speed, and during landing, drag should exceed thrust, slowing the aircraft down. Airplane wings are designed as shapes we call airfoils, which, when angled, manipulates the surrounding air in two crucial ways. Firstly, the wind traveling over the wing's curved upper surface accelerates relative to the wind traveling below the flatter bottom, resulting in lower pressure above and higher pressure beneath the wing. Secondly, the passing air sticks to the wing's curved and angled surface, directing its flow downward. This downward redirection creates an upward push reaction. Together, these phenomena create an upward force we call lift. When thrust overcomes drag through efficient aerodynamics and increased speeds, the lift force rises, and when lift surpasses the plane's weight, we have takeoff. And that is how airplanes fly. I hope you enjoyed this video. I found it very interesting researching this topic, and I hope I was able to deliver it clearly to you. Obviously, the scientific principles and the mathematics behind flight get much more detailed than I was able to cover in this video. But my objective was to broadly yet clearly explain the concepts. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.